Alright guys, if you want the chance to win this BrickTactical M2 machine gun, all you have to do is drop a like on the video, comment down below, and make sure you guys are subscribed. I'll give this guy away in next week's episode. Alright guys, we've got a bunch of minifigures. So I sat down this morning and I printed 80 US figures, and then we have 80 Japanese figures. So we'll have a total of 160, probably, I don't know, give or take, maybe closer to 200, because I have some of these figures already that we're going to add. You know, especially these ones that already have the light flesh skin tones. I got to change that guy out. I got to change those ones out, but I've got some more in there. So close to 200 figures will be used on this mock. So I got all of these Americans. I started assembling them while my camera battery was charging. So now what I'm doing is I'm adding all the helmets to them. Nice thing is that I make M1 pod helmets, so these are my own BrickTactical M1 pod helmets. You can get these on my website if you guys want, along with the Japanese helmets and a bunch of other stuff. But that's the nice thing about making your own stuff, is I said, hey, I need a lot of M1 pod helmets, so I just go downstairs and I have a big bag of them. So I start arming all these figures, and same goes with the M1 Grands and the Arasakas. I finally went and molded a bunch of these. These will be exclusively used for these figures, and then, like I said, these will be sold after the fact on my website. So don't worry, guys. I know some of the figures on my website are sold out, but these will be available once the mock is complete. So I'm going to go ahead and keep on adding all of the helmets to these guys. One thing that I did do is I started sprinkling in some medic helmets. So we got 4 medics. I also have a couple left over of these peace sign helmets, so I added a couple of those just to give them a little more variety. I have other printed M1 pod helmets, but they just sold out in the past couple months, so I don't have any others other than those, but I think that's better than nothing, and I'm really excited for some of these figures. This is probably one of my favorites. I've shown this one before. It's the really simple US design, no pouches or anything, just kind of the standard, BDU, if you will. And so I'm really excited about all of these. And one thing that was a consideration is, do I do olive drab green helmets like these guys have here, or do I go with the tan helmets? Now, it really depends on a lot of the Pacific battles. People had the frog skin pattern, which would be the tan color, but I looked up on the internet, obviously, but I looked up Hacksaw Ridge the movie, and just to make sure, and all of them had the just kind of standard, I have these in olive drab green, so they had those. So I'm going to stick with that, but more to come on this later. So gonna go ahead, finish these up, and I'll come back to you guys in a second. Alright, all the US Army soldiers here have their helmets. Now, one thing I did run out of was heads for the Japanese. Now, I didn't really like any of these facial expressions, so for whatever reason, I also don't have enough of them. These are from some old Sinai Desert figures, so that's not even these are goggles for someone in the Africa Corps, so this is not even close to something that the Japanese or anyone on the Pacific Islands would be wearing. So those I won't be able to use, and I already used these for the Americans. So I'm going to have to either find some heads, either Lego ones, or print some. And I'm probably going to print them just so I can remake them if I need to, and restock these if these do sell out. So I think we're going to do this. I think this episode we're going to work on all the Americans and this side of things, and we'll get to this here in a second. And then next episode, we're going to do the Japanese. So that'll be a good way for us to focus on one thing at a time and then break it up. So next week, we're going to do the Japanese, and that'll give me time to print some of the heads. I just got to I might actually have some designs that'll work. I just have to check, and I already have plenty of light flesh heads. So I just got to print them. That'll take like a day. So that'll be my project for next week's episode. But we've got all these guys. Now, what I did was I cleaned up all of the just random parts and whatnot. So we've got a clean slate here. I actually put those in place, the little explosions. It'd be nice if I had maybe one more for over there, so I'll have to look. I think I might have, oh yeah, I do. Okay, cool. So I've got actually quite a few more in there. So I'll set those up, and let's actually grab these parts here. So what I want to do is I want to go in and add wherever they are, the studs, the transparent clear studs, and add some wake and waves to the front section here along the beach. And then another thing is I kind of just rearranged the vehicles. So the U-boat or the Higgins boat is going to stay where it's at. I put the Sherman here. I brought the Stewart up front. And then I have kind of the Jeeps, if they were to come out of this. And then we've got the Deuce and the Half back there that will be unloading supplies, and we can have a bunch of figures standing around there. We can have, you know, like a group meeting over here and there. And so a bunch of soldiers there, and then obviously a bunch of soldiers climbing up the net. So I like this vehicle placement for now. It's subject to change, and luckily it's easy enough to, you know, play around with how I want these Jeeps to be. But for now, I think that's good enough. And actually, I'm probably going to grab, I have one of my newer Jeeps. It's in pieces, but I'm probably going to build one of those and put that on here as well. Maybe get rid of that one, maybe. This is my old version of a Jeep, so I might replace that one. So I'm going to go ahead and do those things, and then we'll be able to start adding some figures to this and some other details. So one thing at a time, but let's go ahead and let's really dial in on the American side, which is pretty much everything from the rock structure down. So let me go ahead and do those few things. All right, guys, quick update. I started posing some of these figures down here. I added this Jeep. This is my Jeep. I'm going to keep my old Jeep there. I think it looks good because it's a little bit smaller, and coming out of the boat, I think it looks better. But I added this guy over here. I added some guys wading in the water there and coming out of the water. I think it just looks cool. Once again, this is where we're adding details and making the mock really come to life. It might not be accurate, but it looks cool. And so we're just kind of making those details now. And then I started propping some of these guys up. I haven't done too much yet, but I do think I am going to need at least 20 more soldiers to make this area down here a little more densely populated. And so luckily I have around 20, I think I have like 25 sand green torsos. So I'll print some more of those figures. So we'll have about 20 more figures to play with. It's not a lot, but it'll bring our total of Americans to 100, which will be nice. And I think it'll fill in some of these blank spots. I think it'll be definitely worthwhile doing. So I'll have those for next week. And then another thing I'll have for next week is the heads for the Japanese figures. So then we can start adding these figures over on this side. So this will be nice. We'll be able to start laying that out. So I'm excited about that. And then I kind of made a list here. So this is currently episode 41 of the mock series. So next week we're going to be working on, like I said, the Japanese and finishing up putting all the Americans down. And actually, now that I look about it, I didn't even notice this. I have these ones that just don't have heads. So, what is that? 2, 4, 6. There's about 10 right here. So, we'll actually have 30 more. So, that'll actually be perfect. I don't know how I didn't see those. So, that's perfect. So, next week, we'll do Japanese figures because we'll have the heads. We'll finish all the Americans and use these as well. And then, so that'll be episode 42. Then 43, we're going to start adding even more details like all the blood, the little rubble, and we'll probably have to finish this up here, finish all of this up here, and then also finish up all of the detailing up here, because obviously those are just kind of sitting there. So we'll finish that up in episode 43. Then 44 will be kind of the last call. I'll show you guys kind of what I got going on without giving everything away, and you guys can give any last suggestions, and that'll just be like the final wrap up. And then episode 45 will be the finale. So we are currently, including this week, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks away. So once you see this video, it'll only be 4. So we are a month out, and this mock will be done. So guys, that is kind of the current plan. I wanted to kind of plan that out because we're almost there. So I think that's a good plan. And if anything, maybe we skip that last video and the finale will be episode 44. I just like it to be 45. It's a nice number. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So I'm going to go ahead and cut to the giveaway winners, and then we'll come back and keep working on this. All right, so I started placing some minifigures, and you might be wondering, why are they just all laying down? So I started actually posing some, you know, here and there, and then I started filling up the net here and then adding some up top. And one of the things I was worried about is I had this whole base plate full of minifigures. Now, I wanted to make sure we would have enough, and so I just kind of took little piles of them and put them where I want the minifigures to be. So like, I know I want like a group of guys unloading the deuce and the half. I know I want a group of guys talking over here. I know I want at least, you know, 6 or 7 guys coming out of the boat. You know, I want a couple guys next to the tanks, and et cetera, et cetera. And then up here, I want to make sure I have enough. And then I also got to remind myself, some of these guys have to be wounded or dead soldiers, so they have to be, you know, laying over with blood or whatnot. So I think we'll have enough. If anything, down here might look a little empty, so we might have to add something. I'm not sure what that something is, but we can figure that out. Another thing I did was I propped up, so I added these 2 explosions here. So we got 2 more here, one there, and I think I added this one and maybe this one. I think I added 2 more. So I did that, and then I also added all of the transparent clear studs on the kind of front section here to simulate that the waves and the water's moving. And then I also kind of did this cool like little leading trail behind the Sherman tank. So from a distance you can see it looks like it disturbed the water behind it because of the 2 moving tracks. So that's a nice little detail that I added there. So that's what we got so far. I'm going to go ahead and keep working on posing some of these figures. One of the things I have to keep in mind is the Americans aren't having much ground in this battle. I know that's not accurate to the movie, but they're going to have up to about here, and then the rest of this is going to be Japanese territory. So we'll do that. All of this from like pretty much in front of the tank over is going to be all the US. So it's going to be pretty crammed and tight up here, but I think that's going to make it look good. And then that'll give us an opportunity to take all of the Japanese figures and put them back here and throughout all these different trees and bushes and whatnot. So I think that'll be cool. Another thing is I found a whole bag of crates and whatnot, and this is from some of my older mock series, and I found this like little net section here, so I thought it'd be cool to put it behind this larger rock. So I added some little chests and, you know, supply crates back there. So I think that'll be cool to have some Japanese soldiers back there. And I briefly showed it, but I didn't talk about it. I added a bunch of crates and supplies. I added a couple inside there, and then we've got those. So I'll start propping up these figures. And once again, this is just like loose layout, getting things kind of figured out. And then if I need to make more figures, I can make more. I don't have a whole lot more sand green torsos. I think I maybe have 20-ish. But if we have to make more, I can make at least 20 more, and that'll probably help us fill out some empty spaces. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to keep working on laying these out, and we'll see what we got. All right, guys, we got episode 40 loaded up. I'm going to go ahead and give the winner away to Stealth Fox 6. He mentioned that he bought some of my lightsabers for me, and he loves them. And he mentioned I seem like a very genuine and caring seller, and I really appreciated that comment. And he got a bunch of thumbs up, and I replied to that. So we're going to actually give him a M2 machine gun. So guys, thank you so much for everyone entering. I know sometimes I randomize it, sometimes I just pick a nice comment, so you know, it is what it is. So Stealth Fox 06, go ahead and shoot me a message on my website right there, and I can go ahead and get that prize out. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Building Hacksaw Ridge in Lego. This was episode 41. Like I said, next week we're going to be working on even more figures, so this is the exciting time for me. I love working with minifigures, especially once the mock is almost done. Like I said, we'll be working on minifigures. We'll be working on finishing up some of these detailing pieces and sections that aren't finished yet, and it's going to turn into an awesome battle here very, very quickly. Like I said, episode 45 currently is the finale, and yeah, once this is done, we'll be doing another mock series, guys. So make sure you guys stick with it. We've only got 4 more weeks, and this will be completely done. I'll be doing a huge giveaway once this is over, and obviously I'm doing giveaways every Sunday as well. So if you guys don't know, I post videos on this every Sunday, and then I try to post videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays as well. And yeah, make sure you guys like, comment down below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, so let's get to that as fast as we can. And then obviously I do sell custom minifigure parts, custom printed things, and all sorts of stuff on my website, BrickTactical.com. So you guys can go to that link in the description. And other than that, I will see you guys next Sunday. We'll have a lot more minifigures and a lot of cool stuff to show you. And drop in the comments down below what you guys think of all this, and I will read through them as best I can. All right, guys, take it easy. Peace out. Yeah, I guess I'll leave it to chance when you stomped on my heart. Don't know what to do now, but drink some more. All the feelings I had left in the past. Now it's time to move on. What could go wrong? Gonna fill up my cup and sip on my drink, and I'm gonna forget all the things I would think. I can drink on this drink and swallow these drugs. I won't lie to you, still miss the hugs. All the good and the bad, all the times I was sad, all the times I was mad.